Have you ever dreamed about moving to Chattanooga but are torn between buying an existing home or building a new one?
So in today's video, we're gonna dive deep into the heart of Chattanooga and answer that age-old question: is new construction cheaper than existing home?
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Patrick, and we're here to help guide you through the entire process of buying versus building in Chattanooga.
We're also going to dive deep into the pros and cons of both. We're also going to talk about the current market trends and share insights that only us local realtors would know.
Chattanooga real estate couple. We sell houses.
So there's a lot of reasons why people are moving to Chattanooga right now. You've got the economic growth, the job opportunities, you've got the wonderful quality of life and the community aspect of it, and then you have the housing prices right now and the wonderful market that we're in.
So talking about the Chattanooga market, the average sales price is at $340,000. And although the inventory is low, the demand is high, and it's still a seller's market. So there's 4 key factors when deciding to either build a new construction or buy an existing home. And those factors are: 1 is the availability. If you're looking at a specific location, do they have the availability of an existing home? And if not, a good option is to build one. The price range that you're looking at. Sometimes existing home can be at a different price point than a new construction. And new construction can always add up depending on your upgrades. Another thing is your timeline. How soon do you have to be in Chattanooga? Some people have to start work pretty quickly, so they had to be here within the next 30 days and have a home to be in already. And another thing is personal preference. There's some people that like the characteristics of a Victorian home or an older home, and there's people like us that are handy, and so we prefer a new construction and the peace of mind of having a builder's warranty. Shall we? Let's go. When it comes to an existing home, there's a lot of pros and there are some cons about it. Touching on pros, one of the cool pros about buying an existing home is that there is some room for negotiating if it's been on the market for a little bit. Unlike new construction, when they have a base price and are expecting you to start there and go up.
The cost is already there, so there's not really any surprises at the end. Not to say that there is for new construction, but it doesn't really add up, right? So what you see in the very beginning is usually kind of what you end up depending on the process.
Another thing really cool about existing home is that the availability of moving in right at closing, because it's already built. It usually takes from contract to close about 30 days.
So some of the cons to buying a pre-existing home has to do with the inspection and inheriting some of the issues that you might have to fix. Not all the time, but many times you get an inspection done, and your realtor should be familiar with that process and join you along the way. But within the inspection, yeah, there's a car coming. Yeah, seriously, watch out. So one con to consider when buying a pre-existing home is the moisture, especially in the crawl space or basement area. It adds up in the southeast area in particular and in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Just something to be aware of. It's not all the time and it's not always a problem, but it's something that you want to look at on your inspection and definitely keep an eye on as far as if you want to put a moisture barrier down or anything else that might prevent that moisture from getting even worse. So right now we're standing inside a new construction built by Josh Baker and Baker Homes, and is a beautiful, perfect example of what a spec home looks like as a new construction home as well.
And when we talk about new construction, there's a huge difference between custom and specs, but in general, we're going to be talking about specs and the pros and cons there. A couple of pros about building a new home is that you can customize some items. Sometimes, depending on how early it is in the stage, you can pick the flooring, you pick the kind of fixtures that are in the cabinets. There's a lot of cool things you can do. And
it might not be necessarily cons, but there's just different processes along the way that again, differs from an existing home process. So if sometimes if it's already development, they have the lot picked out, or you pick out that lot itself, you buy the land, you build on top of that. Or again, we're not getting into custom homes, but with the custom homes, you find the land, you build on top of that. You might have to get a perk test if it's not hooked up to sewer. So these are all things along the process where your agent would be able to walk you through that process.
The shower works.
A couple additional pros about building a new home is that you have the peace of mind of getting the home inspection done, but also a blue tape walkthrough. Something that a lot of people don't know is that before it closes, you are allowed to walk through and blue tape any small defects that the builder will come through and fix before closing. Another pro about building a new home is the energy efficiency. You get brand new windows that help keep the warmth and cold insulated, and then you also get new appliances that keep the bill lower. Another thing is that some builders have incentives. Some incentives might look like paying for your closing costs or buying your rate down. It's different with each builder, so make sure you get with your realtor to see what they offer.
So some of the cons, or what I like to say, just different processes along the way for a new construction, consists of, again, it's all about the processes, right? So before the new build, sometimes you have to get a percolation test, a different type of inspection. So those could add up a little bit of the cost on the forefront. And so those are some of the things, again, in the process that are a little bit different to kind of anticipate as you get into that.
One thing that you have to keep in mind is the time frame it takes to build. If they're just now starting off, it could take 6 to 12 months. And if they're closer to the finish and the cabinets are up, it might just take 1 or 2 months. In Chattanooga, there's a huge range of different builders, some starting in the 300s all the way to 600 plus. So it's important to get with agents like us that know their process and also their contract. A lot of builders like to use their own contracts that legally protect them. So for us to be able to review it on your behalf is really important.
And as Jess said, it's very important that you partner with a realtor and you ask those questions to make sure they're familiar with new construction contracts.
So another thing about new constructions is when you walk into the house, you need to have the top of your head try to touch the lamp to see if you're too tall for the area. I'm about 6'5", between 6'5" and 5'11".
So another thing that adds up with new construction, and it very much depends on whether it's a purely custom built home or as we mentioned earlier, a spec home, which is usually the case when it comes to living in a development or an upcoming neighborhood. So when it comes to customizing things or upgrades, that the more customized you get and the more things for lack of better words, in the house that are unique to your own preferences, the more that cost is going to add up. As you can assume, you get a new car, you want to add some stuff, some bells and whistles to it that's not already there, or you want to find one with that, it's going to add up the cost. So be very aware as you go along, and of course communicate with your realtor, someone that understands the process very well.
Perfect timing.
If you're buying a home that's being built and the foundation has not been poured, sometimes the builder will require a higher earnest money. Usually in the home buying process, that's given at the beginning, showing good faith to the seller that you are going to purchase the home. And then throughout the different contingency, if you happen to walk away, you get it back. And then at closing, you get it at cash to close. But for new constructions, a couple of things. If it's early on, they'll require a higher amount. Instead of the normal 1%, some require 10% and even make it non-refundable. So definitely get with your realtor or us.
No, just get with us. Just get with us.
So we've talked to you guys about the current Chattanooga market, and we've discussed the pros and cons of new build versus existing home. No matter the case, if you're looking for new construction or existing home, Chattanooga has it all, and there's plenty of opportunities in all regards.
And when trying to make that decision what's best for you and your family, you have to weigh your personal needs, your budget, and your personal preference. And if you like the list of local builders that might help you build your next home, comment builders below and we'll get that to you.
Chattanooga real estate couple. We sell houses,